Just checking the internet. Hey guys. Hoshper, do I need to turn on the Wi-Fi under the desk?
Mm-hmm. When you turn that on, it should turn on.
It takes a while sometimes, and just the lighting is really bad right now.
You see now it blinks?
Yeah.
Oh, take the curtain.
I could do it like this. Doesn't matter because by the time I'm done it will be dark, so.
I need better lighting.
Hi, Borna. It's okay. I got it. Go ahead. Go. Thanks. This doesn't. Can you just turn off? Can you turn on? Thank you. That's all I got. I love you. Sorry about that. Trying to get the technical stuff. Some of the lighting is really awkward right now as we're in between stages. And hi, Richard. Oh, wow. So it's like all of a sudden somebody's there. I was like, oh! Okay, so let's see if there's some things I want to open up so that I can be, hi, Erin. Hi, Jay. Hi, Mark. Hi, Genevieve. Just want to move this over. You see, I want to be able to read where you guys are. My internet connection is a little bit slow. I hope that it's okay. And Facebook has been really, really wonky lately. So that's been fun. Hi, Papa. It's funny. I hope I said hi to everyone. Beth. Hey, Angie. This topic can be kind of sticky, right? Just had a conversation with a beautiful woman underneath the post about this live today, about how it's, I said, my premise is that the word, hi Garrett, childhood and sexuality don't belong in the same space together. And she disagrees. She sees everybody as a sexual being. And so hi Mary, what I want to do is I want to first start off by saying that what I speak about and speak to is simply a truth that I live and see happening around me. And my desire to shift the narrative around children and sexuality and around how do I parent a child around their own sensual, sexual experience. And also like the physiological things, like sexuality doesn't come into the picture for a human being until the hormones say so. So before we're hormonally prepared for sexuality, we don't have a reference. Even when hormones happen and we start to be prepared hormonally in the body for sexuality, we still don't know what's going on, right? And so a child has no reference for the words or the ideas of sexuality. And if we're talking to a child through the filter of sexuality, we're going to confuse them. And what I want to see is a world where there's no more confusion around sexuality, where there's no more confusion about this is my body and that is your body, where there's no more confusion about it's okay for me as long as I'm okay with it. Controversial, I know. And whose responsibility is it to protect the space of sensual exploration for a child? And when somebody's really confused around children, they shouldn't be around children. And I think that's kind of clear. It's kind of clear across the board. And it's not about shame. It's not even about guilt. It's about being smart. It's about being intelligent. It's about being so in touch with yourself that you know what's right for you in a moment-to-moment basis. And this begins as a child because you're born with it. You're born knowing what is right for you, what is right for your body, what experience you want to have, right? And when we shame sexuality, that's where the root happens. That's where the root break, the root misunderstandings happen in childhood when we shame sensual experiences. So that's really what this live is about. And for those of you who don't know me, there seem to be quite a few people I haven't seen before. Hi, nice to see you. With everything I do, I'm just here to change the narrative. I'm here to shift the perspective. I'm here to open up the dialogue, to talk about something differently, to bring it back to a more holistic, deeply whole feeling for everyone. Hi, Jessie. Allie, that ruined me for years. Yes. So this woman that I was talking to, underneath, again, it's underneath the post that I did that I would be doing this live. It's a golden thing. Was saying how she had the experience as a very young child of inappropriate touch by an older child, and that it felt good to her, and that she carried so much shame and guilt about that it felt good to her that it was incapacitating, because that little child didn't have the space to go and say it felt good, and somebody says, but of course it did. Of course it felt good. And you've done nothing wrong. And then we shift and we distract. So there's certain age where, hi Scott, hi Ellie, where therapy isn't necessary. There's an age window in children where it's, you don't react, you distract. You accept, you say it's normal, everything's okay, and you move on to something else so that their dignity is intact. And so that they realize, oh, I don't have to feel bad about this thing that felt good. And then later on, if it comes up because something else is blooming, because now they're having different feelings from their own accord, from their own experience, then we can talk about that. But you don't talk about that with a 3 to 5 year old. I would say up to 6 even. You don't talk about sexuality with them. They don't understand sexuality. They understand that this feels good and that doesn't feel good. This is my body and this is what I like. We get messed up as a parent, as a culture in general, because we try to speak to children through the lens of sexuality. And kids don't have a reference for sexuality. They don't. They have a reference for, like, this is my body and this feels good and that doesn't feel good, and ooh, I like that, and no, I don't like that. That's their reference. And so when they are, I wouldn't say taught, but allowed to remain intact with their own sense of, this is my body, this is my exploration, this is my playground for me, and nothing that I want to experiment with, including like sticking a marble up my butt or a piece of food, like a pea into my nose, is bad or wrong. It's just an experience that I'm experimenting with. And if we can just be like, okay, it's not wrong, but we got to get that out of that hole, and we just allow that to be okay, then we keep them intact. We allow their dignity, their sense of themselves, their integrity within, I did this experiment and I don't like the pea stuck up my nose. I don't like it, so I'm not going to stick peas up my nose anymore. I don't like that. Have you guys heard of the mother, the breath of the mother, or mother of the breath? No, I'm not. There's just ways that you can get the peas out, but they're not fun. The extraction process is not a fun experience. And that's how they learn. So they don't need on top of that, what were you thinking? Why did you do that? What's going on in here? It's just like, okay, this is happening. Let's move through it. Don't react, distract, respond, do what needs to be done. It's the same thing. I'm going to give you a very personal, private example for me. I was shamed pretty intensely as a kid for my they were sensual explorations with my siblings. Being naked and laying on each other and rubbing bellies. Not too sexual, but there's like this really intense, it feels good, and being caught, and then being, what the hell's going on in here? This is not right. And it's like, you don't know what's not right because it just was feeling kind of good, and everybody was okay and nobody was upset. And now there's this big person yelling at you, and it's like, what the hell? So here's your first boom. I did something wrong. There's something wrong with my body. There's something wrong with me wanting to feel good. There's something wrong with me enjoying somebody else. All these things, right? Starts because there's no explanation. So it can go in any direction. And that's how blame, shame, and guilt get seated in our bodies, is when we don't know because we're confused. And then we make up stories, and it's usually self-sabotaging stories about how I'm wrong. We don't question the person who's telling us we're wrong. We all of a sudden imagine that we are wrong. So my kids come into that age. My children come into that age that this happened to me. And they're pretty close in age. At the time, I would say The oldest was 7. No, not even. I was still pregnant with let's just say between the ages of 3 and 6, and maybe even younger, maybe a little bit older, and they were in their room and they were naked. I run around naked all the time, whatever. And they were playing games. They were rubbing their butts together, and they were laying down, and they were playing like tag with their genitals and all these things. And I was getting super, super uncomfortable. Like my entire being was like, and there was like this thing, like, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, which I have to stop it, this isn't, blah. And I was like, whoa. It was so intense that I walked myself down the hall and I sat on the toilet. The bathroom door was open, the bedroom door was open. I had like, I could see them. And I was like, this isn't mine. If I take off this blinding mask of sexuality and rage and what's right and what's wrong and what's appropriate and what people are going to think about me if I let my kids do this, blah, blah, blah. What do I see? What do I see? I see pure, innocent exploration that is hurting no one. Nobody's saying no. Nobody's upset. They're giggling. They're in unity. There's no sexuality taking place before my eyeballs right now. Sexuality comes with hormones. It's physiologically. These kids do not have those hormones. They just have, I have this body part, and you have that. Ooh, that feels good, and I got that. And like that kind of thing. That's all it was. So when I could rip off the conditioning, when I could rip off this gunk that I had swallowed, I saw nothing but innocence. And I did nothing but, and I took a deep breath, and I realized, I can let this go. It's not mine. I'm still uncomfortable, and I'm okay with that. I'm uncomfortable. I got work to do. And instead of going in and saying anything at all, nothing, like anything, like that, you shouldn't be doing this, or is everybody okay? I just walked in and said, okay, guys, time to get your jammies on. And that was it. I didn't react. I distract. Not that it was wrong or anything. But letting them keep their dignity intact. There's a couple times I've walked in on some of my kids with friends, and like one time they were wiping each other's butts, like after pooping, and I was like, this is interesting. I'm like, good job, guys. Right? Or two boys were sitting next to each other, and they had each other's penises in their hands, and were like playing I don't know, like gear stick. I don't know what they were doing. I'm like, hi guys. So what and I just distract them. I don't even acknowledge that there's some weird thing going on, because there is no weird thing going on. There's just an innocent exploration. And as far as I can see, everybody's okay. So I just distract. Not, there's something wrong with you, what's going on, this is bad, this is wrong. Just like, hey, let's play with cars now, or hey, there's a snack downstairs, or whatever, and allow them to collect themselves back in and just move on without the gunk of like blame, shame, and guilting them for what's going on. Every time these are opportunities after the incidents, after the things happened, then everybody's dressed, it's a couple days later, then it's an opportunity to sit down and talk to the kids about, hey, what was that about? And was everybody okay? So how did it feel in your body? And do you think it was okay for the other people? And what would you do if somebody said no? And what would happen if somebody hurt you? Like, what would you say? I would say no. And so start to have these conversations. I just had the conversation with my 8-year-old about, we were talking about this topic because I was going to talk about this at the table. And he was like, what? Because he just came into it sideways, right? Plus, he doesn't understand sexual innuendos. He doesn't understand sexual discussions. He doesn't understand orgasm or masturbation or any of that. He just understands that he likes to touch himself and has his hands down his pants a lot, which is totally fine. But then he was saying, well, what are you talking about? Like, he said, well, you mean like there's other people that would, well, what are you talking about? And I remember asking him, well, it's like, we were talking about if you're with somebody else and they were to touch your penis. He's like, oh, I wouldn't like that. Now, remember, he's 8 now. So his cognition has shifted, right? So usually it's around 7 or 8 where like a child can be like completely naked and everything. And then around 7, 8, 9, even if you do nothing, they'll start to be like, they'll start to cover themselves up publicly or even in the house, or they'll start to be aware that people are looking at them, right? And their nudity. And so he was like, no, I wouldn't like that. Now, three years prior to that, he might have been more open to it, right? But letting them come to their own decisions. Like, I wouldn't like that. And now that's something he has said. He's said that to himself. He's now spoken that into his own body. He's now an owner of this idea of, I wouldn't like that. It's his. I've done nothing. He's done that for himself. Seth my boobs and touches them a lot. I can't stand it. It feels so bad in my body. I tell him to stop a lot, and sometimes I raise my voice. I don't know what to do. Okay, so be honest. In this case, just be honest. You can even tell him, it's really uncomfortable for me when you put your hands on my shirt. I don't know why. I don't know why. And this is my body, and right now I don't want you to touch it. It has nothing to do with him. He's not doing bad things. There's nothing wrong with you because you feel that way. But just be honest. In that way, you also get to model like, hey, this is my body and I don't like it when it's touched like that right now. And it's not about you. I don't like that being touched in this way right now. I don't know why. It's not your fault. But right now, I don't like it. And just be really clear about it. Not the reason you yell is because you feel like, oh my God, he's not going to hear me, or you need to defend yourself against him. And that hurts. That doesn't feel good. Of course he does. He's 5. Of course he does. He's 5. So it's really about continuously saying, nope, no, and really, I know it sounds weird, but really meaning it. And not coming, like, there's a little bit, and Genevieve, I could be totally wrong, but like, there's a little bit of like guilt when you tell him no. Right? Like, I shouldn't say no. Or he should be able to touch my breasts, and I shouldn't react the way that I'm reacting. I shouldn't feel bad about him touching my boobs. That's the sticky piece. That's the sticky piece of like, oh wait, it's okay that I don't want him to touch me. And there's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with him. It's okay that I'm uncomfortable, and it's okay that I don't want him to touch my boobs. It's all okay. It doesn't mean that you're traumatizing him because you don't let him touch your boobs, or that you owe him that because he's your child, or any of that. Like, right? So it's like respecting your own boundaries is super important as a parent. You don't have to know why. It's just, if something feels off, it feels off. And you can trust that in yourself. And it doesn't mean your kid's a creep either. That's probably maybe another little thing like, oh my God, right? No, he's normal. He's 5. Yes, he loves them because they're soft and warm. To him, it's not about sexuality. To you, it is a little bit, right? So it's like, this is not where you react, it's where you distract. He puts his hand down your shirt, you just put it away and you do something else. And you get to that place where it's like, okay, his hand's in my shirt, that's a no for me. And you don't have to know and yell at him and get him to understand. You just distract him with something else, right? You be willing to move him into a different focus. This will be so healing for you that you don't have to defend yourself. You just move his hands and take him into a different focus so you don't have to tell him no. You don't have to shame him or yourself. You can just distract, right? But you have to go through the reaction first. You have to understand, I don't like this, and it's okay that I don't like this, and it's super uncomfortable. And so just distract him. Distract him with food, or with playing a game, or tickle him to death every time he does it. Give him a different reference point for it. So it's not about not touching mom's boobs, although that's a beginning point. I always start with being truthful and honest, and then we can distract. So he still knows, hey, this is my body and it feels uncomfortable and it's not your fault. And then you go on to distracting. So there's this level of knowing why you're feeling the way you're feeling. It makes sense to you. Hi, Polly. Hi, Brian. So how do we talk? This is how we talk about it without them becoming fearful of their bodies or our bodies or anybody's bodies, right? So the other thing that I talk to at all ages, this is your body. And you can't do that you cannot have this conversation with children if you're not congruent. Because the first radar a child has is if you're not congruent. If you're telling them something that you're not living. If you're telling them, don't eat chocolate and then you're scarfing chocolate. If you're telling them don't yell and then you're yelling at them. Like, kids are like, they're hip to the groove of the bullshit of that. So you need to make sure you're congruent. The first place you have to work with yourself is you, realizing that the child has no reference point for sexuality. Even up until, depending on the child, there's a range depending on, and like the reason that more and more we're talking, that sexuality and childhood keep getting closer and closer, these two words that really don't belong together, is that hormonally, through food and other reasons, we're developing much faster. Hi, Gian. Much faster, right? So a 13-year-old or there's even 9-year-olds are having breasts and pubic hair and beginning their periods. And so their body is physiologically prepared for sexuality. Doesn't mean shit because their brains aren't yet cognitively. Even a 14-year-old is not cognitively ready to be involved in a sexual relationship. When a child is left intact, meaning that their dignity and their understanding of I am a sovereign being to this body, their decisions of when to have sex, when to get involved with in a sexual relationship will be vastly different to children who are not intact due to like shame, a trauma, their boundaries not being respected. Children's bodies are developing ahead of their emotions. I think everybody could be included in that, but yes. So bodies, but there's children. And it's the same thing. It's like my daughter's 15. She has a woman's body. She's a child. My son is 17. His body is vastly and quickly approaching an adult male form. He's still a child. His cognition is not there yet. Now my children, 15 and 17-year-old, I have a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old, both of them are like interested. No, I would say my 15-year-old is less. She's a girl. My 17-year-old is interested in girls. He's interested in entering into relationships, but he's not interested in not even kissing or anything. He's like, I don't know, He's like, I'm not ready for it. And and he owns that. Like, I'm not ready for it. I'm not ready for what that means or where that could go. Like, I want to be sure about this if I'm going to enter into that. And my daughter too, she's like, I know that like I watch people and I realize like if you have a boyfriend then you have to kiss, and I know where that goes. Right? And she's just like, I'm not ready to invest because my kids are intact. They're intact. Their integrity, their understanding of like, this is my body. We don't in the Swiss language, there's not the word for masturbation is self-pleasure. I really love this because the word masturbation makes no sense to a child. No sense whatsoever. None. Even if you try to explain it to them, or use terms like whacking off, or I don't know, all the things that you do, but keep it in child terms. When you for Quinn we call it schnabela, when you have your hand down your pants, when you're touching yourself and it feels good. That's really normal. And of course you're going to do that, and that's private, and that's yours, and it's sacred, and it's for your body, and this is about you. And always letting them know it's okay how you feel. Hi, Marlies. It's okay how we feel. It's okay what's going on. Here in Switzerland also, they begin sex education in the 5th grade. It just begins with like, this is a girl body. The girls and boys are separated. And the girls talk about female development. Boys talk about male development. The different parts. And then when they're about 13, they go into talking about how your hormones will start to create feelings inside your body and what those feelings might feel like, what that might look like, what that might sound like, and that it's normal. It's normal. That this is just normal. The reason we have so many distortions sexually is because we have so many messages that how we feel sensually and sexually is not okay. It's bad, it's wrong, it's sinful, it's evil, it's not right, it's abnormal. And boundaries are crossed because of that, not because we have sexual feelings or sensual desires to be touched and held and affectionate. That doesn't cause problems. The problems are because it's been categorized into a place that's taboo, and we've all been like picked apart so that when we come into that age of sexuality, we're not intact. And we're questioning ourselves. We don't know that we can say no. We don't know that we don't need somebody else to be whole. We don't know that I can say no and be honored. We don't know that we have boundaries. We don't know that this is my sovereign body. This I am the one who gets to say over when, how, what. Back in the 60s, my intro to the female male bodies thing was in 5th grade as well. I remember feeling pretty cool to have those changes ahead of me. I was probably the cusp of the beginning of sex education in public schools. Yeah, and here in Switzerland, it's very like cut and dry. You know, there's no sensationalism in their sex education at all. It's just like boop, boop, boop. This is a vagina. This is how it develops. This is why you have a period. This is a penis. This is what it's just it's like education. It's nothing more than that. Oh, weird. I don't hear any popping or clicking on my side. Anybody else? That's weird. That's weird. And I have great Wi-Fi now, so I hope it's not that. So I wanted to read what somebody else wrote about a topic very similar to this. Yeah, cut and dry. And the thing about cut and dry, and this is good with all kids when you're talking about sexuality with your own kids. Keep it factual or keep it honest. This was my experience of that age, or this is my experience of self-pleasuring. My experience of self-pleasuring is that it's very private. I don't want to share it. I'm not like an exhibitionist. I'm very much like, and there's nothing wrong if you are a less private person, but that's me. I only care about my own personal. Here's the pop comes, yeah, every time. Exactly. That's true. When somebody comments. Lost the train of thought. Give me just a second. Oh, we get our own emotional pain, our own disentactment, our own wounds, our own painful things. We will communicate through, not only through our own pain, but through our own idea of sexuality, through our own fears that our children might experience what we did. And that's what perpetuates the issue. So when we can just be really clear about it, like, hey, I want to know what your experience is. Are you willing to share? So I've always talked, and here's another interesting thing about cognitive development. If you don't talk to your children, and there's no like, I'm going to say this, it's going to sound like a fact, and you're fucked if you like have missed that window. That's not what I want to say. There's a right age. If you haven't talked to your kids about sexuality before 12, it's going to be real hard to like open that window. But it's possible. It's absolutely possible. I've seen it happen many times. But that at like 12, if you haven't talked about it and the trust isn't built and the ideas that I can talk to you about those things isn't there, it gets a bit more tight. It gets a bit more closed. But it's not the end of the possibilities. So it's important to always be in dialogue about bodies and how things feel and that it's all okay. And I remember there was another time, like my kids were doing this with their cousins, just the exploration, naked, running around. The boys were like shaking their whatever, in the air, and everybody's laughing, and they were smacking each other's butts. And then there was this one where they were sniffing each other's butts. I was like, okay, guys, time to do something else. But there's all these things, and I own that makes me uncomfortable. I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? But the truth is, when I let go of that, all I can see in that experience is innocence. And I remember the times that I was caught, experimenting with that, and how shamed I was by the adult, how angry they were, how upset they were, and I couldn't understand. I remember thinking, but like my ultimate deep feeling was we didn't do anything wrong. Like I knew deep in my being that what we had done was just normal and like not a big deal. And here's another truth. By the age of 7, again, this is not cut and dry, but roughly, that experimentation, that need to be naked with other kids and touch each other and stuff, if left intact, it goes away. They step into, oh, this is my body and it's for me. Naturally. Just naturally. Like, it's not a big deal. It's just like, I don't have to do that. Thank you, Gian. I have no idea what's going on with live on Facebook lately, but I know it's not just happening to my lives, it's happening with other lives that I'm watching. So I'm sorry, you guys. Not my fault. Not like, I don't feel bad about it. I feel bad that it's just incongruent. Okay. So experimentation is a big part of being a human being. You know, I had an online course for a long time called The Experiment. And the other part of it was talking about peer-to-peer exploration is what's normal. So, hi, John. If you have between, 3 to 6 year olds, that's a group that, like, there's innocence there. Around 8 to 10 should not be playing with a 3-year-old. And I don't mean should not like it's, I don't want to make it taboo, but there starts to be a line that not only is there a new cognitive understanding, but there's becomes a power play, right? And that's where it starts to get sticky. That's where it gets sticky, right? So how do we address that with a 10-year-old? Without shaming them, without placing guilt on them, but being able to say, hey, if you want to explore somebody's body, it's your own that you get to explore. And you need to leave everybody else's alone. How do you do that? You just say that. Like, hey, I understand your curiosity. I understand your needs. Oh, crap. What is happening? Let me just check. It might disappeared for everybody? Because that would suck. Hold on a second. Let me see. Technically on my side. Okay. I think, is anybody else not seeing me? I mean, that's really hilarious. Like, if you were seeing me and I'm asking you, do you see me? That's kind of funny. Sorry. Okay. There was the one. So, oh, cool. I don't know what's happening. Thank you, you guys. My gums are bugging me. Okay. So, yay. I'll just keep going. Weird, Natalie. I don't know why that is. Other people are seeing, but I wish I could fix it all. Okay. Okay, so. Like, we need to be having these conversations. Children need to understand the world is a beautiful, wonderful, amazing place. Hi, Catherine. It's amazing. People are wonderful. Strangers will help you. And there are people that are very confused about the boundaries between bodies. And it's a really good idea to be aware about these people. Now, these people, I'm not talking about stranger danger. I'm not. Because we'll talk up and down to try to scare kids from talking to strangers. Scaring children to do anything isn't very effective. But we need to talk about anybody, like even me. So Quinn has had some issues with his urethra. And every time that I've given the job to my husband, but every time that we need to get him to do a self-treatment, and we need to help him, it's always like, is it okay if I touch you? He's 8. It's respecting his body, his boundaries. It's oftentimes, if even with like Band-Aids or medications, I let my kids give it to themselves. I'm like, this is you, this is your body, this is going to help you. You make the decision, you put it on, you take care. This is your body, this is your vessel to take care of. And it's yours. It doesn't belong to anybody else. And people are not allowed to touch you if you don't want that to be happening. That's really hard to say if we are touching our children without asking. And I mean in any way. You know, like, it would be easy for me to pick Quinn up and like put him somewhere or yank him by the arm or whatever, but I can't do that if I want him to understand that his body is his body and he can say no. Now my kid does, because like if I do that, Sometimes it happens. He'll be like, don't touch me. He says often, don't talk to me like that. Like, he knows that he has the right to stand in himself fully because I will respect it. Now, it's not always easy when he tells me don't talk. So many times he'll, don't talk to me like that. I'm like, whoa. Okay. Yeah, you're right. I have to listen. If I don't, I will smack him because that's a default that happened in my life, right? And I don't do that. I don't smack him. It's not an option. But like, that's the default that would happen if I did not take that in and be like, oh, okay. Yeah, he's right. This issue of consent is important. Understanding and teaching both genders. Yes. And with my male child, it's so beautiful, you guys. He is so intact that he just naturally wants to protect females. He just naturally wants to make sure that they're safe. Like, I see it especially with his sisters, how he is very aware of the environment when they're out, how he's very much like in his space, like in his, right? And he's protecting the space around them and very deeply caring, feeling very protective. And that's a natural response of men. It's supernatural for a male as he grows into his puberty to also grow into sorry, that space of, I want to take care of women. I want to make sure that women are protected. And not from a way like that women can't protect themselves. Trust me, my 12-year-old, nobody's never going to touch her like that. She's brutally vicious when she needs to be. But just like from a place that's just a natural occurrence because that's who he is. Like, he's not, we talk a lot about, because, you know, at his age, the quickest porn that my husband could get his hands on was like some, you know, dirty magazine that some guy has thrown out of a truck on the highway here in Switzerland. That was like, woo, the excitement. My son has the possibility of having porn at his fingertips instantaneously, all day, every day. And I'm not stupid. My husband's not dumb. Like, he's a 17-year-old boy. Of course, this is what he's going to look at it and he's going to see it. So we have a lot of conversations in our house about that. How are you feeling? How is it affecting you? How often are you doing it? What do you think about how it's portrayed? And I talk about it, being a woman, how uncomfortable it makes me, and how I believe that it can skew when he finally does have sex with somebody, how it might skew his idea about it. And not ever telling him what to do, but telling him what the possible consequence outcome of watching and doing and partaking in that could do. And also, I talk deeply about how it's not pro-female, it's not pro-woman, it's not pro-connection, it's not about intimacy, or any of that. This is great, because this leads me into a boy coming into puberty, into his hormones, will just all of a sudden one day be attracted. Like, whether it's to boobs and ass, or ass and chest muscles, or something in between, whatever it is that creates this physical arousal, for most males, it's going to be a visual. It's going to be, whoa, holy crap, wow. And all of a sudden life and women or men or whoever they're attracted to becomes like, it's like a completely different world. Like, from one day to the next, it's just like, whoa. And that alone deserves respect, honor, nurturing, and holding, not shaming, not guilting, but like, yeah, this is where like it's really kind of intense, like physically, like, whoa, viscerally, life just lights up. Being able to talk about it, being able to be understood and say, yep, that's how it is, and it's normal, and there's nothing wrong with you, and this is okay that you feel this way, right? So males will develop in that way. They'll be visually mostly stimulated. They'll begin to be visually stimulated, and they'll be like, holy crap, because the visual stimulation is just constant. Girls who come into their emotion, and also emotions, but into their hormones, they don't get aroused in the same way usually. And of course, there's a small percentage that do, exactly like men, and there's no cut and dry. I'm using giant generalizations, so please know that I'm not saying this is something in stone, that there's so many options here. But most girls, when they're coming into their hormones, they're going to be aroused by attention given, right? By somebody actually giving a shit about them, by somebody listening to them, by a male sitting next to, all of a sudden a boy will sit next to them and they're like, whoa, and their body does something and they're just like, whoa, wow, you know, and or all of a sudden, it's a different thing. It's not as visual. It's not placed upon that. It's placed upon a feeling sense in the body. Same with boys, but it's just different. And they need to be honored and held and nourished, right? We also talk to my daughter. She's 15. She also has access to the internet. We talk to her about porn, and we ask her what about it. She's like, well, I watched it like twice, but it feels weird. And I love how brutally honest my kids are. So the only reason I can see people doing it is because you can come faster. And she's like, but other than that, I don't see the pull, right? I don't, and that was months ago. And then when we were just on vacation in Italy, she's like, I haven't watched it since we talked about it. And these conversations are important to be having with our kids, with our teenagers. Like, where else are they going to talk about this? And if they're going to their peers are just as confused as they are. Their peers are just as like out there as they are. They're just as excited and confused and awkward as they are. And it's so important that they have adults, grown people, who can talk about it. All aspects of it, the discomfort, the awkwardness, the way that it is. Noah went through a phase where he's like, women don't fart. And we had to have a conversation about, all these weird ideologies that we gather from our external world. And like, what's really true, right, is everybody farts, everybody shits, sex is awkward. It is awkward. It's confusing. This is what I know to be true. So my children are, if a human is not given the space in their life until they're about 18 years old to fully explore their own bodies, and I mean fully explore it, touching every piece. And I don't mean like, I don't know what my kids are doing, but that they're not given like the honoring, like, of course you feel this way. And I really encourage you to explore your own body, in your privacy, in your sacred space. I really encourage that. It's a really important growth process for humans, and it's been stunted and stunted and stunted and stunted. But it's a huge part of us finding who we are, understanding sexuality from our internal space so that we don't need to be informed sexually from somebody else or externally. That we understand, I like this, I like to be touched like this, these are the parts of my body that feel really good, this doesn't feel so good, this stroke is yuck, this one's awesome. And they know their body before anybody else has any kind of influence whatsoever, that they know their bodies before anybody else. And it takes literally till about 18 for that to really settle in to, this is my body, and this is what sexuality means to me. I don't need somebody else to tell me what my sexuality is. I don't even want to read a book. I don't care about that course. I don't give a shit. I know what my sexuality is. And then when I come together with a partner, I can experiment with that partner and I can say, I like this, I don't like this, no, yes, I know who I am, I know what I'm about. Even if it's awkward and confusing and strange and wondrous and all these different things, when I come together with a person, it's far easier to come together with another human being when you're intact, right? I remember for myself having sex way too early for my own cognition. I didn't even want to look at my own naked body or the naked body of my partner. I didn't want to look at the penis. I would touch it, but I was like, I did not want to know what was going on down there. Something's going on, it's going on, it's going on, it's going on down there. Right? I wasn't engaged. I didn't know who I was. I didn't understand my sexuality. And here I was informing and allowing somebody else into my body. I didn't understand. I didn't understand. I did not have the connection. I didn't have the connection to myself. It's so important. Now, I've made that, it's never lost. Like you can, a friend of mine on Facebook, she took like a sabbatical for herself, like a celibate years. She came back to herself after years of promiscuity and all kinds of things. She came back to herself. And in that time, she basically grew herself. That space that should be done as you're growing as a child, that should be done in the adolescent years. She just did it when she was 35. And so it's possible. It's not like this is lost. And it's why the courses that are coming up later, Parenting the Parent, is about that. Where are the places that I did not get to grow, that I still need to grow so that I feel whole and I know who I am and what I am? Without somebody else's, without my parents, without school, without society, without commercials, without TV, without media, without anything. Who and what am I? Who and what is my sexuality beyond the definition that exists outside of me? Right? Let's see. So there was somebody asked about how do I speak to kids? So here at my house, what I wrote was, we speak about the right to our own bodies and to our own pleasure and to our own nose. What does that look like? What does my pleasure look like? What does my no look like? What does it feel like? What does my no feel like? Does it feel like no? Or does it feel like no? Or what is it? How does that feel? If I imagine a scenario where somebody were to, in my case, once a bum on the street, I was squatted down and he reached down my shirt, through my bra, and grabbed my booty. What are you gonna do? I have a big story about that, like what happened to me and how I was revealed to myself. But where do you go with that? Like, if you can imagine something like that happening, what do you do inside yourself? Not necessarily, externally, but it's like, and we speak about people who think it's okay to take and touch when we do not want them to, and what we can do. So in this case, it was really fascinating. He reached his hand down my shirt. He was drunk. And as his hand pulled out like this, I grabbed his arm. Right? I was squatted on the floor. I grabbed his arm and I looked up. So I'm looking up into these blood red, beautiful blue eyes. And I held his hand and he tried to pull away. And I said, "That's not okay." I let go of his hand. I stood up and I got away from him. And a shitstorm hit me inside. I felt horrible. I felt it taught me a lot, but it's important to know what your no feels like to you, right? And my no feels like, I'm so centered. I'm not angry. I'm not yelling. I'm not screaming. I'm not aggressive. It's just fucking clear. Fucking clear. And it doesn't mean that shit won't happen, right? I don't wish it on anybody. But, okay. And it's about being brave and speaking the truth. Being brave and speaking the truth. It's like, even if it's like something weird and awkward that you don't want to share, that you find the people that you can share with. That you find the people that you can say your no to, even if it's after the fact. Even if it's after the fact, right? And so this person said, I think if I had been taught, I'm coming back to you guys, I think if I had been taught the meaning of boundaries and self-respect and self-responsibility, I might not have been raped and might not have been a cougar magnet as a teen. So there's a lot in that comment that I want to address. The very first part, I think if I had been taught the meaning of boundaries and self-respect and self-responsibility, it doesn't mean that the shit that's out there won't happen, but it means that you will stand up from that and you will say never again, and you will stand up and you will speak, right? So when you have boundaries, when you have self-respect, when you have been taught that I am allowed to say no, even as something shitty's happening, some kind of assault, somebody's encroaching on my physical boundaries, my no can still be clear, and I know that it's clear. And afterwards, I know where I need to go and what I need to say and who I need to speak to. I don't ever need to be silent. I don't ever need to be ashamed of something that happens to me, ever. My body is my body. Your behavior or that person's behavior is their behavior. I take no responsibility for anyone else's behavior. That's a big ass boundary my kids know about. My son, don't touch me. He's 8, and he started that really young. And then the part where she said, that I might not have been raped. I just want to be really clear. There's no guarantee of that in the current climate, in the current world, in the current paradigm, in the current narrative that we live in. There's no guarantee that my daughters who have not yet been will not be assaulted. I like to say it stops here. I didn't do anything. I did not do anything to deserve the assaults that happened to me in my lifetime. Nothing. I didn't call it upon me. I didn't act wrongly. I didn't dress improperly. It happened. I couldn't at the time speak. Now I can, and that's enough. I can speak now when I'm safe, when I have people that I can fall back on, when I have a system and a structure around me. Now I can. I will never turn around to myself when it happens and say, you should have spoken up. Bullshit. She knew exactly what she was doing. She was intelligent. She was taking care of herself. She was surviving. So I just want to say that we need to do the deep emotional work. We need to do the clarity, but we also need to be fucking practical and aware and eyes wide open and just being present to the fact that some of the stuff is factual. It's happening. Not stick our heads in the sand, but also not create fear. Okay, guys. Yes, responsibility. And responsibility to me, Amit, is I take full responsibility for my experience. I never take responsibility for other people's behavior. Never. What? No, I can't. This is radical autonomy that clashes with so much of cultural traditions and conditioning. Yes, it does. What do you mean I'm fully sovereign? What do you mean I don't have to let people, like somebody said, well, nobody's respecting my boundaries. I'm like, nobody has to. I respect my boundaries. You don't have to respect my boundaries. You don't respect my boundaries. I remove you from my life. I respect my boundaries. But we've been so conditioned out of our out of this is not okay for me and this is okay for me. This is not okay. It's like to the point that the woman that was here, she might not still be here, Genevieve, about her breasts. It's like, I can't say no. Yes, you can. And you can distract. Yes, you can. You can say no. These are your boundaries, and it's nothing bad about your kid, and nothing bad about you, and nothing bad about sexuality. Where are the places I still need to grow? Yes, grow up. Where do I need to be the parent to myself that I needed? When it comes to my sexuality, when it comes to my boundaries, when it comes to my self-respect, when it comes to unconditional love, when it comes to having my back. Most of us are still living like the wounded 14, 15-year-old. We haven't grown. Nobody's fault. You would have to go eons into the past generations to find out who it was. Doesn't matter. I don't even give a shit. What do we do now? We grow ourselves up. We parent the parent. Whether you're a parent of children or you're never going to have children, there's still an inner child inside of you that you can parent lovingly, fiercely, wide open, really, truly being there unconditionally for yourself. Will help you be there for your kids. I know it's silent, I just realized. Okay, Lauren, even if your no is silent, it's enough. If you listen, you need to hear it. You need to hear your no. When you hear your no, your boundary gets created. Nobody else needs to hear it. You need to hear it. Then eventually, once you hear it enough, once you hear it, the volume will rise for you. And here's the thing. A lot of people think no means screaming, yelling, being aggressive, fighting, being a warrior, battling, living in a protected shell. That's not what no is. No is a clear stand for yourself. That's it. No is a clear stand for yourself. It has nothing to do with anybody else. Finding the respectful community and cultivating a culture of that type of honor of the individual. Yes, yes. Sorry, guys, I'm a little bit behind. Yes, it's like, I don't know about you all, but I like people who cherish me, love me unconditionally, and who like are in my corner, like, yeah, go, I love you. I no longer need people doubting me, telling me I need to do something that isn't me or any of that. Like, it's just, those are my boundaries. You don't adore me. Or if I give you, like somebody, not you, but if I give somebody's negative behavior more than literally 5 minutes of my energy, I usually just get that person out of my life. Not because of them, not because of me, but it's like my energy is precious to me. I have 4 kids and I'm building this business and I don't have time. I just don't have time. So most of us are still living like a wounded 14-year-old. We need to grow ourselves up. Yes, but it's not, and it's so, the word empowering is a bit overused, but it's completeness. It's, I don't need to rely on my parents to do what they never could have. They couldn't. It's not their fault. But guess who can? Me. Me. And it's everything I do is about that. You can change your narrative. And I don't just mean like ignoring whatever happened, because shit happens. We don't ignore that. We accept it. And what do we do now? How do I go forward? What do I shift in my narrative so that I'm whole and complete inside myself? Where do I need to be parented and held and told that I'm okay and I'm loved no matter what? They're all parents or kids need this. Yeah. Yeah. And that's my big thing about parenting and the things that I speak to, even my clients who are parents. Hi, Nicholas, about parenting is that you have to parent yourself first. There is no, like what happened with my kids when they were having their exploration, I'm having a trigger. I had a trigger, right? It's like, what do I need right now? And the most kind thing I could do was look at my children without my bullshit. If I move the trigger away, if I move that this isn't right, this is wrong, it's bad, it's wrong, what are people going to think, bullshit out of the way, what do I see? And I see innocence. And I see that I don't have to do anything. And I see that I want to leave my children intact. I don't want to fracture them the way that I was fractured. Now, fractures are all healable. We can heal from anything, but that doesn't mean things didn't go. Hi, Angela. We can heal from all of our trauma. We can, in our own time, in our own way, and there are a gabillion ways to heal. There's no one thing, right? Everybody has their path, and just, you got to trust yourself. And how do you trust yourself? Is you start helping yourself be whole. You start parenting the parts of you that are scared. You start and not with like, you need to get over that fear and you need to have bigger goals and fear is stupid and blah, blah, blah. No. What are you going to say to a trembling 5-year-old? Come here. Come sit in my lap. It's okay to be afraid. I understand. I'm afraid sometimes too. What are you going to say to an 8-year-old who says, I'm such a shit kid? Come here, sweetheart. Come a bit closer. Tell me about that. What's going on for you? What makes you need to say that? And then I listen to that 8-year-old inside of me. You know, school's hard, or people aren't getting at this and that and all these things, and I wish I could do better. And you just listen, you bring it closer. It's like, hey, come here, come closer. What do I say to the 12-year-old me who was raped? I get down at eye level and I said, you've done nothing wrong. I got you, and I am never going to leave you. I believe you. What am I going to say to like the 24-year-old mother who had, postpartum depression, didn't know what the fuck she was doing, felt completely like lost? I'm going to go, come here, sweetheart. You put your head in my lap. I got you. This is hard. This is not easy. You're my hero. I'm going to bring those parts of me closer. I'm going to be the parent that I needed in that moment for myself. And I'm going to tell you something that isn't really much of a secret, but it is sort of, because most people don't know it. I can say these things to you. You can come to me as my client. I love my clients. Oh, fuck, I love my clients. Every time I say that, it's like, it's a weird word, but I love them. Not love is weird, clients, but that's the way it is. I can tell you all these things about how wonderful and amazing and beautiful you are, and that it's okay that you feel the way you feel. And I mean it from the depths of my being. I mean it with every single piece of my soul. And that inside of you will hear me. Let's just say, if I'm lucky, and I'll get through to you like 40%. You'll hear me, you'll feel me, you'll get it. But when you actually, truthfully, honestly, take that part of you into yourself and say, I got you, I love you, I'm not turning my back on you, you believe you more than you believe anybody else. And I truly believe that I did, hands up, totally fucking honest, support. I needed people who loved me unconditionally, like my husband, a few really dear friends, people I've paid, to do the work I needed to do, to come back to me. And I did a shit ton of it all by myself. I mean, that's not, I needed that support, I did the work. I needed people to say, you got this, I got you, it's okay how you feel, this sucks what you're going through, I'm here, I'm not going to turn my back. We need to be there for each other in that way. We need to listen even when it's uncomfortable. We need to be willing to hear people even when we don't want to. And here's why we have to do that. It's not because we need to listen to abuse. It's not because we need to hear people saying shit to us. If I truly hear you being an asshole to me, it's much easier for me to say no. I hope that makes sense. If I truly hear you and your behavior, not who I want you to be, not who I think you should be, not wishful thinking, not seeing the potential in you, but really hear you being a jerk to me, it's going to be easier for me to say, no thanks. So we need to listen. You have prepared yourself for responding to the most amazing and beautiful ways. Yay, I'm so happy with this. And it's not easy, guys. It's not easy. This work is unbelievably simple. It's not easy. And what I'm seeing with my own children is they have a lot less garbage. They're intact. That's the only word I can think of. They're intact. And I'm intact too. I mean, we're all intact. We're all totally whole. But we will feel, because of experiences we've had, emotionally, I'm sure you guys have heard this, the body never lies. The body is the conduit for emotional fractures, right? Or hooks, or distortions, or trauma, or whatever words we want to use. The body never lies. So you may do the mental work, the speaking work, the spiritual work, on understanding what happened and all of that, but until you meet the emotional distortion in yourself, it won't feel whole. And when you parent yourself, you heal the emotional distortions and fractures, like instantaneously. When you show up for yourself as the parent, I don't give a shit if you're 85 or 19, however old you are. When you take back that space as a child where it's like you get frozen in time. So the trigger happens. You're shamed, or you're guilted, or you're abused, or whatever, and it happens, and it's like, you get frozen in time. And it's those times, I call it picking up the pieces. It's those points of time where we need to go back and be like, I'm here for you. I got you. I see you. I love you. Everything's going to be okay. How do I know everything's going to be okay? Because I'm sitting right here today. So I can say it with absolute honesty. I would never say this to my children right now. Everything's going to be okay. I don't know that. I don't know that. I know right now everything's okay, but I'm not about to say that. But I can go back to my past self and say, sweetheart, I'm here to tell you, you are going to have an amazing life. I promise. And she can go, oh, but she can believe me because I'm not shitting her. I'm not full of crap. It's true. It's true. So, super important. I'm trying to think about sexuality because that was the kids and sexuality. Be honest with them. Tell them there's people that will harm them if given the opportunity. Tell them that if they ever feel in their gut, in their bones, that something isn't right, they can leave, they can get out. They have every right to say no, to bite, to scream, to kick, to do whatever they need to do to get out of a situation that they do not like. I prefer my children to be over-empowered, as one of the labels the school system has given my children, than not. I'd rather them error in the direction of being too protective of like not protective is not the right word, but like, yeah, I guess it is. This is my body. This is my being. I will not be treated like this. I'd rather them have that than what I have. Still, my instant default when something happens, I'm like, it takes me about 3 seconds to go and really stand in me. But like the instant that something weird or strange or aggressive happens, my default is still, I'm still shy. And it takes me those 3 to 5 seconds to be like, wait, it's like I pull the shy girl in and I'm like, it's okay, I got you. I got you. It's okay that you're shy. It's okay that just scared you. It's okay that you're so sensitive. That's what I love about you. And I got you. So it's important. It's important to be like, hey, I'm going to be a stand, not take a stand. That's like an external direction. I'm going to be a stand for myself. And this topic came up obviously because it's a big theme in the collective right now, sexuality and sexual distortions. And I think it's really important. We don't have to tell our kids that there's people out there that are going to molest them, rape them. We don't have to have that conversation that's going to create fear. We just teach them to be sovereign. We teach them who they are, that who they are is the most important thing, and that they have a say in their life, that they have a say, they can say no, and give them plenty of practice in life with you. Let them say no to you. Don't take it wrongly. Respect their no. Respect the boundaries. Respect your own boundaries. It's where it starts, right? I have boundaries. My kids have boundaries. I don't set boundaries for my kids. I can't. You can never set a boundary for somebody else. Your boundaries are always about you. And interesting enough, my body itself is a boundary, right? My body itself is a boundary. And when I really honor my body, my boundaries get clearer and clearer and clearer. And so do my children's. Speaking of about, yeah. And it's what I teach my kids too. It's like, listen to you first. It's what I tell all of my clients. If there's the one thing that I am telling my private clients over and over, I trust you. Trust yourself. If something I say does not resonate, throw it in the fucking trash. Do not listen to me. Trust yourself. Trust you above everyone, above anything. Trust yourself. And when we've been violated physically, emotionally, mentally, sexually as a child, that trust is broken somehow, right? That's the fractures. The fractures are our trust in ourselves, right? That's why self-doubt is rampant in adults, way more than it is in kids, right? Because it's a conditioning. I doubt myself because I've been taught out of trusting. This doesn't feel right, right? So if I were to give you something practical to play with, if you want to, if it is even relevant to you, is to I'll pick different arenas. Like obviously for me, I will pick Facebook, and if someone rubs me the wrong way, now there's beauty in inquiring: is this my shit? Is that their shit? Blah blah blah. But what I do instead is, this doesn't feel right. Bye bye. I'm not asking myself, why doesn't this feel right? I should really look into who this human being is. I should not make judgments, blah, blah. Nope. I'm just like, whoa. In my body goes, ugh. Then I'm just like, Dunk. I just do what I need to do, whether it's blocking or removing them from my feed or unfollowing or whatever, just to get that out of my space. I don't question myself anymore. There's valid process inquiry that about questioning ourselves and our thinking and our feelings and all of that, but it can also be a trap. It can be such a place of not trust. And I'd rather just play with trusting myself. This is the fastest way I know Like, to get back to the place of like, I'd rather shut somebody out of my life and come back a few months later and open that door again and trust myself than, like, there's a couple people I've shut out of my life that didn't work for me anymore. And every once in a while, I drop into myself. I'm like, do I need to open that door? Nope. And I don't. I don't feel bad about it. I don't feel wrong about it. If I miss them, I let myself feel everything, you know? Anybody have any questions about childhood and sexuality and sensuality? And if we stop talking to children about sexuality, we simply talk to them about their sensuality and how they feel in their bodies and that how they feel is okay, we change the narrative completely in very, very short amount of time. Notice how, if you're talking to your kids or any kids about bodily sensations, how much your own perception is wrapped in sexuality when a child does not understand a single iota of sexuality, like where I'm aroused by another person or the thought of another person. That doesn't happen until hormones. That's when sexuality happens. But before that, they don't have it. My 12-year-old, she understands what sex is, like the mechanics, the really cut and dry anatomy, right? But beyond that, no idea. And it will come when it needs to come for her. Thank you. I like love blessings. I appreciate that. Just see if there's any questions. Personally, I'm feeling quite internally very quiet. I just appreciate everybody here, either live or the replay viewers. I have no idea. I mean, that's not true. I can't say that. But I don't have concrete step 1, step 2, step 3 of where being Shanti is going, or the thing and how it's going to unfold, how that's going to affect these lives. I have no idea. But changes are coming. And I'm just, I'm feeling it. So I'm sharing it with you. Changes are coming. I don't know what that looks like exactly. But I'm just really in appreciation for the sharing that has been possible. I've been doing 1 live a week for over a year now, with the exception of maybe 3 weeks where I was sick or I was on vacation or something. So I've just really appreciated this format and being here. I love you, Marlies. Thank you. Thank you. It's like, I think it's, and knowing that based only on what I've given in this space, you know, these 90-minute sessions for a whole year, totally free, completely, I'm giving everything. I'm not hiding anything behind like a curtain, that it's all here, and that it's actually the content that is out there that's for free, that is on my Facebook page, that it actually helps, that people are using it, like Marlies is, and I know she is. We've spoken about it. It makes my whole life, like, really, it touches me, and it's one of the reasons I don't stop. I mean, I can't stop anyway. I would do this if nobody showed up. I have to. But I'm just so glad that you're here. And I have 10 more minutes, like time-wise, that I've allotted to be here. So if you have any questions at all, I would love to play. I'll just see if there's anything else. The word that just came up for me was confidence. And confidence to me is ultimately trusting yourself. And that is innate in every human. Confidence, trusting yourself. It's innate. It's your birthright. So really what is only happening and occurring is you remembering, oh, I can trust myself. Like, I can trust myself 100%. I'm the most trustworthy person I know. And giving that back to the children, a really funny little side story. Casper and I are coaching basketball from next week, we went this week to meet the kids, but from next week until March. And they're kids from 6 years old to about 11. That's a big space, and it's a lot of kids. And it's in Swiss. And it's so beautiful to meet kids that are still intact, that trust themselves, and to be able to nourish that, to be able to positively reinforce, yes, you can trust yourself. You can trust yourself 100%. You can trust yourself so much that you become trustful. So my favorite thing to hear, and it seems strange, but I've heard it out of the mouth of anybody that I've been in a relationship with of any kind, whether it's client, friends, kids, husband, anybody. I'm not telling anybody else about this, but I know I can trust you. I can trust you. I can trust you to love me. I can trust you to be happy for me. I can trust you to hold me. I can trust you to be silent. I can trust you. And for me, that is, it's been life altering for me. And I'm trustworthy to other people because I am literally the most trustworthy person I have ever met. And I believe that you're the most trustworthy person that you have ever met. And I want to say, I promise you that. I promise that you're the most trustworthy person you know. It's about coming back to that. And those little pieces where you doubt, when you feel doubt, when you feel insecure, when you feel not sure, first off, it's normal and it's okay. It's okay to have those feelings. It's all right. And those are points where you can pick yourself up and say, I love you. I believe in you. You got this. Or sometimes, maybe this isn't what you want to do. You want some chocolate cake? Like, let's take a break. Let's not be so harsh on ourselves. Let's see what else could be possible. Trust yourself. I guess that, like, if there was anything I wanted to tell people, it would be that. Above anything, trust you. And do whatever it takes, whatever processes in your life, whoever, if you meet somebody and you trust them, don't take it lightly. If you're guided or you resonate with somebody, get what you need from them. Know that you don't have to, if you have a teacher, I think we're all teachers and we're all students, but let's say that somebody comes into your life like me, who outwardly appears to be a teacher and a coach and all of these things, and it resonates with you. And I'm not talking about it's me. I don't care who it is. Go for it. Go deeply into that process. Take the piece that you need and leave the rest. Right? Because there's just so many nooks and crannies and crevices. And you're going to get your pieces from all kinds of places. I remember I did really deep work on the mother wound, what I call the mother wound. And as I went through that, I began to see my mother in everyone. I began to see where the configuration that I had made of who I wanted my mother to be was in a myriad of different people, in my husband, in my children, in my neighbor, in my mother-in-law, in my father. All of these aspects of the mother I thought I wanted was all around me. It just wasn't in one body. And so the pieces that we need to feel whole and complete and loved unconditionally can come from many different bodies. I know, weird, but it really is that way. So trust yourself. If you feel like somebody's off, if you don't like someone and they're very popular to everybody else, trust you. Who cares why? It's just not a fit for you. Trust you. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. It's so, like, the more and more, because like it's a process. It's like I trust myself more and more and more. Like, where I'm just like, I don't question myself. If it's a no, it's a no. And it's not personal to me. I'm just like, it's a no. I don't want that thing or that person or that car or that whatever the fuck. I don't want that gelati. I want that one, right? And it's not a big deal because I trust myself. I trust myself so much that if I pick the pistachio ice cream and I'm like, bleh, no, I don't like it, I have no problem to throw it in the trash and go back and get the chocolate. I trust myself in each moment. I trust my choices. I trust my ability to say no, to say yes. I trust my decision making. For all the mistakes I've made, and I have made many, so many, daily, so many. They have informed me. They have made me intelligent beyond my wildest dreams because I listened. And I don't see them as mistakes like I did something bad, but I'm like, oh, wrong direction. Don't want to go down. I don't want to go down that direction again. So instead of telling myself I'm wrong and I'm bad and I make bad decisions, it's like, wow, I learned not to go down that road. And so I trust myself not less, but more. Now that I know that road's not good, I know that there's other ways to go. I can trust myself even more. And if I come upon a road that kind of smells, tastes, feels, looks remotely even like that other street, I'm like, no thanks. And maybe down that street is fucking awesome. Maybe fucking awesome is down that street. But I'm like, no thanks. I don't need that fucking awesome because I'm going to go get that awesome over there. Like, just trusting yourself. Trusting yourself. It's almost like trusting yourself is taboo. It's like it's the deepest rebel thing you could ever do. It's trusting you. Knowing that you have your own back. That you're not going to turn your back on yourself is one of the most radical things you can do as a human being. It's one of my favorite things. Feeling like doubting myself is one of my not favorite things. It sucks. That she sucks. He sucks. But it's been a while. The last time I doubted myself, I know this because it was so painful, was like May or June. And I remember being on the phone, and I remember like this doubt came over me after the conversation, and I was like, "Whoa!" And for me at that point, in that I had made a decision, and then I had this conversation. Like I made this decision; it was like the right decision. I knew it; it was awesome. I was excited. Then I had this conversation, and it was like, ugh. The decision no longer felt right. And instead of listening to that, ugh, and being like, "Okay, I changed my decision. Click, 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 done." Just change my mind, it's done. I was like, oh, maybe. So the doubt actually came because I didn't trust that pull away. It was well, maybe I was wrong, and maybe this is no. That was the doubt. I wasn't doubting my decision. I was doubting the new decision of no. Right? So that's where I learned. That was a moment. That was a pivotal moment where I was like, I'm going to trust myself in every single moment. I can make this decision, and the next minute I can completely rip it apart. I'm going to trust myself. I don't care if I look like a maniac to anyone. I don't care. I'm going to trust myself. And just have like these months now of just like, whoa, I can't even explain it. Like I've been healed of doubt. Now, it doesn't mean it won't show up again. I'm sure it will. Like I'm open. But it was like, I'm just going to listen to my right now feedback. My intuition is not a future fortune teller. My intuition is not from my past. My intuition is me trusting myself in this moment. And my kids have that in the bucket loads. Bucket loads. I learned so much just from watching them being fully intact. Like, oh, that's how it works. That's how it works when you're intact. That's how it works when you haven't been fractured. That's how it works when you trust yourself. And again, please do a video on meditation, how it works for you and how you do it. If you already did, please tag me. And I haven't done one on meditation. That's interesting. Okay. I don't know if people will really love it, but I do all kinds of different things when it comes to meditation. And so if I just give you like a little piece of what my current core belief around meditation is that everything is a meditation. Every single thing. And my current meditation is simply well, I do the normal thing, like I sit down and I close my eyes because I like meditating that way, but you can meditate with your eyes open walking down the street as far as I'm concerned. There's no rules to meditation. There's just what works for you. And what worked for me a week ago doesn't often work for me today. I allow it to dance. I dance with the meditation. There are times in my meditation, for me, I'm not trying to get anything. I am going to the place of being held and nourished. That's what meditation is for me. About being held and nourished and really feeling the unconditionality of myself, of my being, of just being in that space of, those are the words that come, being held and being nourished. And if something develops, like where I have a desire or I get an idea or a download or whatever you want to call it, there it is. I'm not trying to make it happen. I'm just, oh, there it is. And I'm okay, and I'm not worried about, is it coming now? Is it coming now? It's just, I don't go into a meditation with a purpose other than to connect deeply with that sense of being held and nourished from the inside out. That's current. I've done all kinds of different meditations, but my workout can be a meditation if I really fully just become present to every time I move and what I'm moving, and relaxing the parts that feel tense and using the right tension and all these things. There are no rules. Meditation is what you want it to be, what you need it to be, what you feel it to be. For me, meditation, cards, crystals, my sponge, if you've known me for a while. Look, guys, I got a baby one. I got that in Italy. They're just for nourishment. It's all nourishment for me. All of everything that I develop and I delve into is about being nourished and being held, and not about making something happen. I tend to really live in the space of, I'm not the magician, I'm the magic. So it makes sense that my meditation is what it is. But I'll see if I can find something to even talk. I don't think I can talk about it for very long. That'd be good. It'd be a short one. It'll be a short one. But yeah, I can do that. Okay, you guys. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. I'm so glad you exist. And I'll see you next week. Hi, Monica. Bye, Monica.